maligayang araw sa ating lahat. Welcome to Unit 2, where we discuss all about the analysis of knowledge. But first, Module 1 muna tayo, entitled The Analysis of Statements. Oh ha, may pa-short film pa tayo niyan. Na-enjoy niyo ba? Nako, mukhang oo. The very short clip you watched earlier portrays the 5 main types of sentences: interrogative, imperative, exclamatory, expletive, and declarative. According to Wittgenstein, there are countless kinds of sentences. Hence, sentences or even words are used in different ways. Maraming kagamitan ang mga pangungusap. That is why the term language game is meant to bring into prominence the fact from speaking of language is part of an activity or a form of life. Araw-araw natin siyang ginagawa. Language claim is very important because one of its uses is using a sentence to assert a knowledge claim. Nagbibigay kaalaman. The linguistic bearer of knowledge claims is often called a proposition or a statement. Again, these are the words used to impart knowledge. Magbigay, again, ng kaalaman. The sentence types interrogative, imperative, exclamatory, and expletive have no truth value. Wala silang ibinibigay o isinasaad na katotohanan. Pero, alam mo ba kung sino ang meron? Si declarative sentences. This usage of declarative sentences is very important, not only in logic but in epistemology as well. Ngayon, dumako naman tayo sa sentence and statement. A sentence is made up of words, while statement is a bearer of knowledge and is made up of concepts. Kumbaga, may mas laman ang statement. Sentence is a broad term, while statement is a specified one. Hindi pa tayo tapos. Meron pa tayong arguments. Ito naman ay may made up of statements that can be true or false. Concepts are made up of ideas. Yan naman, concepts can be expressed by different words in the same language. For example, canine, thief, and dog, di ba? It can also be expressed in a different language like dog and aso, cat and pusa. Knowledge claims can be expressed in a different sentence. Kung baga, iniba mo ang pangungusap or you revise the sentence. Like for example, the cat is on the mat and the mat has a cat on top. Gets ba? Now let's proceed to how do we analyze the truth values of statements. Here's an example. The cat on the mat is a statement kasi I am declaring and I am telling you that the cat is on the mat. May pusa sa taas ng banig. This is called a declarative sentence. I am declaring that there is a cat on the mat. Next off is a successful statement. Successful statement is being sure that there is a cat on the mat. For example, there must be a cat or the cat must be on the mat. Kumbaga, you are sure. Thirdly, a false statement goes like this. If a cat and a mat exist, but the cat is not on the mat, then your statement is false. That is a false statement. Next stuff is no knowledge claim. No knowledge claim is having no truth value at all. For example, there is no mat and there is no cat. Definitely, wala kang kiniklaim. There is no knowledge claim. And lastly, truth value determination. Truth value is determined by comparing the statement to the external reality. Pinuprove mo kung totoo ba yung sinasabi mo. Hence, truth value determination undergoes the process of verification, making it sure or having the assurance that your claim is true. That is why napaka-importante talaga that we analyze every word, every statement, and every sentence we express. Kabahan na kayo. Malay nyo, Pinoy philosophy at sinapsychology na pala kayo nakausap nyo, di ba?
Isipin mo naman kung ang oo ay biglang maging hindi At ang tama ay pwede palang maging mali. Parang ang gulo, di ba? Buti na lang, may 3 prinsipo tayong nagpapanatili ng kaayusan sa mundo ng lohika. Ito ang principle of identity, principle of non-contradiction, at ang principle of excluded middle. Simulan natin sa principle of identity. The principle of identity says that if something is true, it stays true. If it's false, it stays false. Basically, the truth doesn't just flip-flop, like how 2 plus 2 will always be equal to 4. It won't suddenly become 5 tomorrow. Another example here says, all bachelors are unmarried males. As long as the meaning of bachelor stays the same, this will always be true. Imagine if truths could randomly change. Logic would be a chaos. Like trying to follow traffic rules where red suddenly means go and green means stop. That would be such a chaos, right?
I agree, and that is why we have the second principle in logical reasoning, which is the principle of non-contradiction. This states that a statement cannot be true and false simultaneously and in the same respect. What does this mean? If you make a statement, it can only be true or false. It cannot be both. It must only be one or the other. Additionally, if the statement is true, its direct opposite must be false and vice versa. For example, if the statement the blackboard is green is true, then the statement the blackboard is not green, its direct opposite must be false. There cannot be a scenario where both of these statements are true at the same time. This principle may seem very simple and very easy to apply. However, many individuals still often violate it. This is because they often say one statement and immediately contradict it after. For example, you cannot say, nag-iipon na ako, and then immediately say, gala tayo bukas. It does not make sense. When 2 statements are contradictory, this means that when one is false, the other must be true and vice versa. Logicians call this relationship truth functional. This means that a statement being true or false is directly determined by the truth or falsity of the other statement. This relationship is essential in logical reasoning as it helps to establish clear and consistent arguments. Many people so often confuse non-contradiction with the concept of inconsistency. So how do we differentiate them? In the principle of non-contradiction, just like what was said earlier, one must be true, the other must be false. So kung tama ang isa, mali ang isa. When you say a knowledge claim, for example, the blackboard is green, the contradictory knowledge claim is the blackboard is not green, or it is not the case that the blackboard is green. Inconsistency, on the other hand, says that statements can be both false, but they cannot be both true at the same time. Let's have these 2 statements, the blackboard is green and the blackboard is yellow. They can be both false at the same time if, for example, the real color of the blackboard is black. However, they cannot be both true at the same time as the blackboard cannot be 2 colors at once. It is important to understand and master this principle because by doing so, we improve the clarity and consistency in our communication and our discussions.
Lastly, the principle of excluded middle. The principle of excluded middle says that a statement can only be either true or false. There are no in-betweens allowed. Think of a light switch. It's either on or off. There's no halfway on or kind of off. For example, the statement the cat is on the bed can only be true or false. The cat can be sort of on the bed in formal logic. In other systems, like statistics or many-valued logic, things can be more flexible, allowing for probabilities or multiple truth values rather than a strict true or false approach. And that's it for Module 1. Laging tandaan, sa lohika, walang space para sa mga maybe o baka sakali. Kapag totoo, totoo talaga. At kapag mali, wag nang ipilit. Kaya sa susunod na may philosophical na diskusyon ka, gamitin ang mga prinsipyo para masigurong hindi ka maliligaw. Dahil sa lohika, walang kalituhan, walang palusot, at tiyak ang sagot.
Palakpakan naman dyan! No? Thank you for making it through Module 1. Now, we proceed to Module 3, which is Types of Knowledge Claims. LJ, take it away.
According to OxfordReference.com, Moritz Schlick was a German philosopher and physicist, founder of the famous school of logical positivists known as the Vienna Circle. The Vienna Circle, led by Moritz Schlick, developed a theory of knowledge patterned after the epistemology of David Hume. The positivists accepted Hume's epistemological framework that there are only two sources of knowledge: reason and sense perception. Because there are only two sources of knowledge, it seems that there can only be two types of knowledge. We have, from the faculty of reasons, the first one, formal knowledge. Examples are logic, mathematics, geometry, and algebra. In the language of Hume, formal knowledge is intuitively or demonstratively certain. Second, we have from the faculty of sense perception, the empirical knowledge. Examples come from the natural and social sciences like physics, biology, sociology, psychology. The logical positivists contend that all knowledge claims can only be either formal or empirical. This was the basic epistemological framework that Hume offered, which the logical positivists accepted and developed into a full-blown theory. Empirical claims are the easiest to recognize, identify, and utter. Just describing yourself, your seatmate, other people, or your immediate surroundings, and you have used a declarative sentence to assert an empirical knowledge claim. Just make sure that what you are asserting or denying exists in the world. Like the following examples: I am discussing right now. I am wearing green. Notice that the truth or falsehood of these claims can only be determined by the use of one or a combination of any of your five senses. This means that we are using the correspondence theory of truth. We know what observations we are going to make in order to determine the truth or falsity of these empirical claims. The claim that puppies are young dogs appears to be making an empirical description about an animal. On closer analysis, the statement is a claim about the use or the meaning of the term puppies. The statement is making a claim that the term puppies is used in many language games to refer to any young dog. This type of knowledge claim is called formal or analytic, and the statement used to make that claim is called analytic statement. Kant defined an analytic judgment as one where the predicate is contained in the subject. The following example would exemplify his definition. The first one, all bachelors are unmarried males. Second, fathers are male parents. Notice that the definition of Kant is sustained in all the examples above. The predicate unmarried male, being the intention of the concept, is contained in the subject bachelor. The same is true with other example. The predicate male parent is contained in the subject father. The concept bachelor and father are formally defined in the English language. Hume describes such this definition as intuitively or demonstratively certain. This means that the denial of this statement will be contradictory. But how do we verify the truth of these statements? We have two theories of truth. Hume's dichotomy between relation of ideas and matters of fact led to the bifurcation of the two theories of truth. This means that we verify an empirical claim by the use of correspondence theory of truth, and we verify a formal or analytic claim by the use of coherence theory of truth. Notice that the application of the correspondence theory of truth in verifying empirical claims is basically the use of the five senses. Analogously, the application of coherence theory of truth in verifying an analytic or formal claim is basically the use of the faculty of reason.
Let's move on naman to the paradigm. From what we have discussed, Analytic statement comes from a formal system like mathematics and logic. These are the ones with the proven help of theorems and well-formed formulas. Remember, well-formed formulas. For example, the sum of all angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. The statements here are all true because it is a tautology. What is a tautology, you may ask? Tautology means a statement that is true by necessity or by its logical form. Again, a well-formed formula. For example, algebra and geometry theorems. Let's move on to how many types of meaningful statements are there. From a logical positivist view, there are two types, analytic and empirical. These two are identified with the method of verification. On the other hand, we also have what we call evaluative claims. These are judgment from passions and emotions. That is why if you judge an action or behavior to be good or bad, moral or immoral, right or wrong, you have made an evaluative claim. In evaluative claims, we have variations. First is declarative with statements of value. And an example would be, sex without love is immoral, and the sunset is beautiful. The sex, its value is love. So sex without love, they correlate each other, while sunset and beautiful correlates each other. Prescriptive is commands and obligations. An example naman would be, you should practice what you preach, and people should drink 8 glasses of water. It has a command. And lastly, prescriptive is negative commands. Prescriptive usually contains the words no, do not, shall not, thou not. That is why some of its examples are do not cheat on the exam, or the 10 Commandments, which is the long list of prescriptive sentences, because they have thou shalt not steal, do not, shall not, so that is a prescriptive sentence. In conclusion, we should remember that analytic claims use coherence theory. Empirical claims use correspondence theory. And lastly, evaluative claims are justified by public approval or intersubjective consensus, passion and emotion, subjective approval. May this discussion open each and everyone's eyes about how important it is to analyze and to be critical of what we hear, what we read, what we receive, and what we perceive. Well, just like Wittgenstein, if you want to. I hope you guys enjoyed our presentation. Thank you for listening. May this discussion open each and everyone's eyes about how important it is to analyze and to be critical of what we hear, what we read, what we receive, and what we perceive. Well, just like Wittgenstein, if you want to. I hope you guys enjoyed our presentation. Thank you for listening.